G'day, ZiggyD here, and not long until Path of Exile enters open beta now. So I've been thinking about what I'll be doing when Path of Exile hits open beta, and I was thinking of doing some sort of build of the week where I level up a new build each week and then give you guys a guide to the build and my thoughts on the build and how the leveling process went and how it looks at its end state at the end of the week. Now that's all pretty cool, but that sort of relies on just me picking builds, and then maybe you guys are interested in the builds or maybe you're not. So I had an extra idea today. Instead of just me picking the build of the week, how about I give you guys a series of choices each week that you can then vote on in a poll like this one. So for the first week, I've picked out 3 builds that should be fairly good for a first build ever playthrough of open beta. That means that they'll have access to the skill gems they need through quest rewards, and they won't be particularly gear intensive builds, so they'll be nice beginner builds basically. So I'll briefly take you guys through each of the 3 builds that I've picked out for the first week or so of open beta, and then you guys can vote on what one you really want to see a guide to. So the first build choice we have is an Ethereal Knives Shadow using the Eldritch Battery Keystone passive. Now basically Ethereal Knives is an AoE projectile spell. So it's an interesting spell because it causes physical damage unlike a lot of spells, and each of the little knives that it fires out actually count as projectiles. So this gives you some interesting things to do with passives, and taking the Eldritch Battery Keystone passive gives us a ton of mana which we can then use with these Inner Force buff effect passives here to run a lot of auras. So we can have a lot of auras and basically a lot of ethereal knife spamming and chaining and things like that. So the second build choice is a cookie cutter sweep Templar. Pretty basic stuff. I've got it planned out now for basically life and energy shield and armor, sort of a basic defense, but it can also be slightly modified to go towards chaos inoculation. I haven't specifically chosen chaos inoculation for this build yet because I don't know how hard or how difficult it is to gear for chaos inoculation, especially for the first ever playthrough. Chaos inoculation is very gear intensive, so I haven't planned that out specifically for this build, but there's potential that it could go towards it, and that would be something that I would wing if I chose this build. So basically focusing on sweep and then maybe like double strike or something for single target, using resolute technique and unwavering stance. So very cookie cutter, very solid melee build. So the third and final choice for week 1 is a MAGIC BOW Duelist, focusing mostly on physical damage. So as you can see here, we've got lots of life nodes around there. It's starting off, this particular tree is planned out starting off from the Marauder, and that's equally as viable, but for the first playthrough you won't have access to as much gear and skill gems especially, so I'll be starting this from the Duelist area and then heading up into the Marauder zone and coming back and getting blood magic. We also have things like Iron Grip for physical damage, from strength applying to projectile attacks, resolute technique, and then dipping up into the Templar passive area there. So the skills that the MAGIC BOW Duelist would probably use would be Split Arrow with life on hit or life steal, and maybe Fork, Chain, or Pierce, depending on what I can get a hold of and what I find to be the most effective. So those are the 3 choices I've planned out for week 1. Just to recap, we have a Ethereal Knives Shadow with Eldritch Battery, a Cookie Cutter Sweep Templar, and a MAGIC BOW Duelist. I'm really looking forward to trying any one of these, so I'll be pretty happy with whatever you guys choose. And again, I'll put the link to this poll here so you can actually vote on the one that you like the most, and that'll be just in the first line of the description or something like that. So get voting, and I'll get back to you guys in a week or so after open beta hits with the guide to this build. Anyway, that's it for now. I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching.